everyone, and welcome to the Omega Files. Wow, did that bake your noodle or what? I guarantee you that right now, somewhere between here and Gallifrey Base, there's at least, a few thousand Whovians whose heads just exploded like that guy in that scene from Scanner. If not, they're reaching, for the cartoon mallet to bang themselves on the skull until they can comprehend what the heck just happened. And of course, I'm referring to the timeless children. It threw us a lot of curveballs. It really got us thinking, and it made us wonder just, in the words of Morbius, Doctor, how long have you lived? Okay, well, let's start from the top this week. We're going to start with Bo. I want to hear your words on this. What did you think of the Timeless Children?
Yeah, I found this episode to be quite enjoyable. I like the bit where Ryan threw the bomb at the Cyberman. I thought that was really good. I like the bit where Yez and Graham and a few others pretended to be Cybermen. I like the conversation between the Master and the Lone Cyberman. I liked how he used the tissue compression eliminator on him. On the bit where the Master was telling the story about the origin of Gallifrey, I'm not sure whether to believe him or not, but I do like the idea of the Doctor being the timeless child. I like the design of the Cyber Time Lords. I thought that was all great. On oh yeah on what the bit where I like the appearance of the Ruth Doctor, and also on the bit where the Doctor projected her memories into the Matrix. I like that they not only included the previous incarnations, but they also included the ones from the Morbius episode. I like the bit where Chalmers sacrificed himself to help the Doctor. Um, on on the bit at the end where the Jadoon um arrested the Doctor. I want to know what that's all about. I guess we'll find out in the upcoming special. Yeah, it was a really great episode. It was quite enjoyable.
All righty. Okay, let's move on to the next person. All right, next up, DWC.
Well, what can you actually say about this episode? Actually, so much of it everyone's going to say, but I'm going to focus a little more on some of the smaller things that you didn't notice. I mean, obviously at the end we have Jadoon arresting the Doctor, who, as we all remember, was fugitive of the Jadoon as Ruth. That pretty much indicates a very big connection between the two of them. Also, how on earth did they get into the TARDIS? Because, again, once more, things are getting in that shouldn't be getting in. There was also some nice little bits, a bit of fun with when Graham suggests that we disguise ourselves as Cybermen. First thing I'm thinking is, okay, how is he going to fit into that suit? And sure enough, you have the bit where Yaz takes the helmet off. Well, of course, Madam Gill can fit in, but of course, Bradley couldn't. That's why they had that, I can't get this hat off, which was obviously funny. And also some nice little bit. They actually had a nod to the first episode of this series with Ryan having to throw the bomb, and he's saying, "Whoa, in the nets!" Which, of course, all the way back to first episode. And also, the Master says something about these brains, suggesting, wait, so do Time Lords have two brains as well as two hearts? Okay, well, that's fun. But that's all just... actually, one other little bit of nod. When we're seeing into the Matrix and we're seeing what appears to be the leader of the division, did anyone else notice that she's wearing clothes very similar to the Valyards? Which makes me kind of wonder, okay, there was some position there. But onto the major stuff. Of course, the Doctor is the timeless child. Literally nothing wrong with this. I don't understand why anyone is freaking out over the idea of perpetual regeneration. Rassilon had perpetual regeneration, so what? And also, saying, oh, this has completely ruined the legacy of the show. Really? Because the only thing we've really known about the Time Lords is how they gain time travel, and that's really not been changed in this. Nothing about Rassilon or Omega has effectively been changed. All we now know is how they were able to regenerate. Okay, so what? The Doctor's from another universe. So what? I don't really care about that. And as others will say, I'm sure it's been said, it finally explains the brain of Morbius. That's all that's really happened, is that you've taken one of the biggest continuity errors in the show and made it make sense. And even at the time, it was all, you can look at some of the production notes at the time, or interviews, documentaries. The production team always initially intended for that to be previous incarnations of Doctor. Then Deadly Assassin comes in, they highlight 12th Regeneration, and they come somewhat in future episodes explicitly state the number of Doctors that come before, so they had to say, okay, well, it was Morbius's. Now, doesn't matter, it can finally all make sense. Nothing is wrong with that, and overall, this was absolutely enjoyable episode. I love the tension, I love Sacha Dhawan against Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Those two just act off each other so well, and Sacha, once again, playing a great master, embodying various masters, in fact. Overall, and actually a nice little bit, you might have heard when the bomb went off, you actually hear the master say, all of you, through here. So, yeah, I think it's pretty sure those guys, those Time Lord Cybermen are going to be back.
I know, I love that. Well, you can see it in the backdrop here. Yeah, the way they redesigned this. Well, I like to call them the Cyber Lords myself, because I think that's better than sounding than Cyber Masters. Rolls off the tongue a bit more. Well, okay, but yeah, the whole Brain of Morbius thing was driving people crazy because, it came out. And remember, our previous interpretation of the length of a Time Lord's life and all that, remember, came all the way back from Pat Troughton when he told his companions that his people could live pretty much forever. Barring accident or illness. So remember, the 12 regeneration limit didn't come in until, of course, the Baker era, and that was in Deadly Assassin, as previously mentioned. Okay, moving forward. Let's go over to Paul.
Yeah, well, this was the perfect finale, I thought. It was exciting all the way through. We had obviously the Cybermen story, which, was a big battle. And then we had all the Gallifrey stuff. Now, as we were talking about this in the group chat earlier this week, I originally was against this idea of the pre-Hartnell thing. And I said because one of the main reasons I like Doctor Who is the concept that it's every Doctor after Hartnell is Hartnell's Doctor with a new face, and brainwaves altered up a bit. So, that would have spoilt it. But then, Phil explained that still stands. This is just exploring more of his past, which is quite smart. So, yeah, quite on board with that. I've got quite a few notes. I'll just go through a few of them and then come back to some later on. Later we'll speak. But the Master's outfit I really liked, and it was very reminiscent of Anthony Ainley's, I thought. I thought the bit with them disguising as Cybermen, I wonder if Chibnall's been influenced by Attack of the Cybermen, when them two guys on Telos do it. Good reference to Deadly Assassin. And I love the cyber music, that kind of drum beat, with a bit of steel, whatever. Good effort defending, against the Cybermen, Ryan and the other two. That was a good scene. Nice scene between Graham and Yaz. And I love the line about I'm Yorkshire. It's technically a love letter. It's good that it turns out the Doctor not only started Regenerations, but founded Time Lord Society. But there's a few more. I'll go over them later on. But yeah, brilliant episode overall.
I know, it just blew my mind. I think I peed myself a little. But okay, let's go over to Josh.
I literally, I could not comprehend this episode to the point where I had to watch it 3 times. That's kind of how much it blew my mind, and I didn't know what to think about it until I had watched it probably 2.5 times. But now that I think about it, it's really, it's a really good episode, and it's nice to finally get some concrete stuff about Gallifrey and Time Lord and stuff. But I just feel like they should have spaced that out a bit more, and I hope they don't just for the special just go on and everything's okay, because then that would be kind of underwhelming this episode, which I hope they don't do, because it was interesting but if you're gonna rewrite like everything, it kind of needs to have a big arc, in my opinion. But I did like the whole thing where the Doctor was actually this alien race, and they were the ones that started the whole like regeneration thing and all that stuff. I like that because it still fits with how Time Lords have always been, because they've always been like bureaucratic anyway, so it still fits as far as that is concerned. But I just wish that I hope that they don't just like, I don't know how I feel about them like destroying Gallifrey and all that stuff, because I hope they don't just like rewrite everything and then just move on after that, 'cause that would be kind of I don't know, that would just be kind of a waste of a storyline. So, but other than that, I like the whole Doctor and Master dynamic too. I thought it was really good. There was a lot of tension, and it was good.
All righty then. Okay, Paul, you threw your hand up. What do you want to say?
Oh no, I was gonna wait till everyone's done their introductions.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you threw me off there. Oh, okay, William.
Hey now, everybody. Happy birthday, everybody there, Gato. This episode was a great season finale, unlike last season's. And it left me with a lot of questions. And like we was communicating before we started recording. So like I'm gonna take it like some things are not in value, so to speak. I gotta get Graham. He came up with that great idea for everybody to wear the cyber suit to escape from the Cyberman. You gotta get props. That was a smart idea. But I was like, how they gonna get out of there? Don't tell me they gotta fight their way out. But that was great. Before we started recording, Lucky Phil explained how the title was more, explain the timeless children when the Doctor was the timeless child, and that was, I got to give props to Phil for that, for he explained it very good. And the master played his role real good, and the way he reacted when he absorbed that silver thing inside him, it was a little bit funny. It was a little bit funny. So I thought he was gonna faint from the shock of all that absorption inside him. I thought maybe he was gonna pass out from it. So much, all that knowledge and all that. So that, and his reaction was pretty funny. That sticks out. The Cyberman, knowing the knowledge of all these years that they have faced the Doctor, and of course all their battles with all the different planets and all that, I thought they would learn from all that experience and realize, don't ever get involved with the Master, because he has used you in he or she has used you in so many different ways. You should have just shot him right then and there and not deal with his ideas. Was unusual was the ending that the Jadoon showed up and arrested the Doctor, considering we really are aware that the next another episode was already recorded for the New Year's episode with the Daleks like that. So that locking her up is only temporarily, so to speak. You gotta give credit. They bring out so many different scenarios of the Doctor being the source of regeneration, and it left me with so many questions, especially doing the history of Doctor Who for so many years. So hopefully, I'm not gonna gripe, bitch, moan, and groan on how it was earlier, because I'm gonna see how things turn out in the next season. And I also believe what you said, that I think the Master lied in certain things, because in all honesty, in all the history of we know the Master, he hasn't been truthful in anything. So that's my opening statement right there.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. You really only have the Master's word for it. And that's why I love the way they left this, because depending on, how you view things, you could say it's all bullshit because of the big redacted sections and all that. That's why I loved why they did it this way. So you could take it for, what he said, or you could take it for your own way. Okay, Graham.
Hello, evening, folks. The preceding 65 minutes will either enthrall, tantillate, and delight you, or have you reaching for a hammer and saying, "Oh my God, how much longer do I have to live?" Me, I enjoyed this for what it was. Sacha Dhawan was the MVP of this for me. Absolutely bonkers and delightfully sadistically crazy. Cannot complain. Jodie had her great moments as well. I think we all tend to agree that darker Jodie is somewhat better Jodie. More of that, please, as we roll on to the Dalek special and season 13. Shout out to my buddy Space Moses, who turned out to be a bit of a badass in this episode with some commander to her skills. It's just a shame he had to be the red shirt at the end of the episode, but c'est la vie. The companions, again, were free for free when it comes to, at least, again, everybody had something to do. You can't complain here with regards to that. Nobody felt as if they were lingering in the background. And with regards to the elephant in the room, the doctor at the time was shelled. Whoop-de ding dong shit. For now, until Chibnall or someone else comes along and retcons it down the road. Let's see where it goes, folks. No one's died. No one's killed your puppies. And at the end of the day, it's just a TV show. I'm going to work tomorrow. And more to come later.
All right, next up, let's go over to Connor.
Yeah, I thought that, despite all its twists and turns, this episode was very much, let's get Sacha Dhawan on a great big set and just see him chew it up. Because he was unbelievable. Absolutely insane. I love that guy. I really he's the best master. Hands down. Said it. Yeah, there's no topping him, I think, in this review. Jodie was really good. As Graham said, I did like the darker Jodie. It suited the heaviness of the episode on her kind of like emotional state and psychology quite well. Companions were bearable. Even Ryan, Jesus Christ. I think the whole the fighting. I think so the one bit, the bit where he started jumping around and like celebrating after he blew up like half a battalion of Cybermen. That was a bit much, but I thought that they were all quite bearable. I don't think that they all had too much to do. I think that, again, it struggled a bit in that department. But, the plan to dress up as Cybermen was very funny. I think they could have done that actually to more comedic effect than they did. But it worked. It was a funny plan, and it was good to see Graham, to be honest, come up with it rather than the Doctor or someone else. The whole twists and turns of it, I'm not going to go too much into it because everyone's going to cover it. I don't get anal about canon, so I don't think I care either way. I just watched it and I just thought, I'm not getting like enraged and snowflakey over the fact that, he's any of these child doctors or these incarnations are pre-Hartnell. I did actually like one bit that, and I'm not usually a fan of like massive fan service or fan wanky moments, but the one bit I did enjoy was when she was breaking out of the Matrix and she used all her life, basically the memories of her life, to do it, and the theme started just blasting out onto the screen. That was great. A lot of fan service moments don't usually work, but I thought that one suited quite well. It didn't go overboard. The Cybermen, I'm not going to blow my own trumpet here, but I did predict last week that the Cybermen would use the Time Lords to make Cyberlords. But again, is that 3 out of 4 finales now? They've come second fiddle to the Master. It gets a bit bland, and I think that the Cybermen deserve more than that, especially when you have someone like the lone Cyberman who, you know, could have been easily like the most savage Cyberman ever seen on screen. It could have done way more damage, but instead was reduced to a toy by the Master. That would I said immediately that was kind of like, it felt like the equivalent of the Master doing that to Davros, and it just doesn't make any sense. It just kind of like takes all of the weight out of it. To be honest, and him as a villain,
Thanks for that.
especially because he started out so well. And you know, it just, I found that bit a bit tacky. But other than that, it was an alright episode actually, and it was a way better finale, like Will said, than last year, or the last series. So I'm alright. I'm happy about it. I'm not going to get too upset about it. Yeah, see where it goes from here, especially after that ending. I did like that ending with Did You Do?
All righty. Okay. Next up on the docket, let's go to Philippacha.
Good evening, one and all. Do you know what? That's the best finale I've kind of enjoyed in a long time, and probably the only one I'm always going to rewatch. There's a lot to go into this. I mean, everybody said a lot about it, and I'm not going to go over it because I agree with everybody's points and everything. So I'm going to pick out little bits that I thought was quite good. The story of the Techian story, which is related, well, the history of how Time Lords became. What I found was interesting that Gallifrey was originally inhabited by Shobogans, who made themselves into Time Lords. And that was quite a good little callback. I like that. That was cool. Now, yeah, I've got a question. I don't know if anyone can answer it. Was Brendan one of the Doctor's regenerations? Because it seemed as if he was one of the Doctors.
That was going to be one of my questions as well. Yeah.
I actually felt, I think what it was the Brendan scenario was implanted in the Matrix as a false memory.
But for whom? Oh, I can't hear.
Interpreted it. It was an actual memory, but as he said, it was chameleoned to make it look insignificant. So chances are that was one of the times or maybe the time they erased the Doctor's memory, but it was hidden in the form of a false memory. Right,
gotcha. Okay. Cheesy bits. The Graham and Yaz little smoochy talk. That was a bit. Ugh. It took me out of the story a little bit. I didn't want to see that because it looked like really pervy. Anyway, the Cybermen in their Time Lord garb, as it is behind your brain. How ridiculous is that? Do they actually need to have aesthetics on them? They've got no emotion. Why do you want aesthetics? That makes no sense. Sacha Dhawan, spot on master. As everybody says, he's a master for the rest of Doctor Who, as far as I'm concerned. Come back as many times as you want and be as mad as any time. I know I always moan about Sim and Missy being a bit over the top, but he just has this weird way of bringing out the balance in his craziness. I enjoy that. As for the fam, I'm glad they've gone back to Earth, but we know what's going to happen. They're going to come back in that TARDIS of theirs and come back. Now, Jo Martin's Doctor, is it confirmed that she's actually before Hartnell? Because like even when she did her flashback, you saw her before the previous ones. So it's kind of like, is she placed before or after? I'm not sure.
I think that was just because she appeared this series. It looked like they were flashing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I agree with you. I agree with that, Paul. I'll take that point. But like everybody says, it's good that they retconned Bane and Morbius, and I like how we see the children, the child doctors, or we'll call them doctors for now. And when she first regenerated, that was brilliant. It's been a long while since we've seen an actual regeneration in this season, so in this series so far. So that's good. But overall, it's a whacking great big story, and I will watch it over and over again. There you go.
All righty then. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's go over to Callan.
Right. No, quite a lot today. Sacha Dhawan. Some of his acting was just beautiful. Kudos to him. Nice to hear a sailorman we call leader again. I missed that from the old days. I was expecting someone to say, aren't you a bit short for a sailorman, Zaz? In the flashback sequence, That brought a tear to my eye. There was, let's see, we've got Dr. Lou Thurston, Jack Harkness, Dalek, Dalgros, Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith, David Tennant, Christopher Eccleston, John Hurt, Paul McGann, Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, Peter Davison, Tom Baker in the brain of Morbius, John Thackeray, Patrick Troughton in the Moon Base, and William Hartnell. Then it was back to Tom Baker in the brain of Morbius again. Well, his in there for generations, perhaps. Then we've got a Zygon, Zil, Cyrus Jack, an Auton, a robot for the robots of death, Sutek, a Ogron, Scaroth, and then all the masters were in there as well. Anyway, that's quite good. As I said, that made me a bit emotional. As for someone pointed out to the point of the Judoon getting into the TARDIS, I could just be down to entry of the TARDIS systems, which we've head all the way back to, I don't know when. Somebody will remind me. That's it.
Okay. All right. Next up on the docket, let's go over to AJ.
Yeah, I'm massively conflicted by this episode. It was a good story. I like the whole Cyberlord twist. To me, this story felt a bit like the end of Time Part 1 and Part 2 with the Master, transplanting him all over the Earth and making everyone him. Basically, he did the same thing here, making the Time Lords emotionless killers like himself. So that was kind of cool. I don't know, this whole thing with the Doctor being the timeless child and not remembering, anything pre-number 1 or Hartnell, as we call him. I don't know. Like you said, it could be undone later on. The Master could have been lying. The Matrix could have been forged. I just don't know. It's a bit weird. It feels like that he's sort of treading a little on what came on before, slightly. The whole Dr. Ruth thing, I'm fine with that. I don't know where she comes. No one does at the moment. I'm fine with that. The whole Jadoon thing where they get on the TARDIS, though, is kind of easy to explain. How often have you seen the Doctor lately lock the TARDIS doors when they walk out? Anyone can walk in anytime they like. Just the companions were okay. Graham was awesome. Ryan, a little less annoying. Yaz was there. Can't think of anything else at the moment to say. I've got a few little nitpicks and stuff I got written down here, but I'll get onto that when we're talking about other things.
Okay, next up, let's go over to Beefhead.
Like AJ, I'm somewhat conflicted. I watched it the first time, wasn't quite sure how I felt. So I watched it the second time, made some notes trying to get. Let's go through some of the things that I did like. Sacha Dhawan, like you guys have said, has been solid. I would like it if they dialed back his rambling a little bit, but for the most part, I really liked what he was doing with it. But like Connor said, they've spent the last 2 episodes building up the lone Cyberman, the Cyberanium, and it didn't really amount to much. So that I felt got a bit short-served. I did like his opening line, "Look upon my works and despair," because that's from Ozymandias by Percy Shelley, who's the big thing from Via Dota. When Jodie was going to explode the bomb, become death, which is Alan Oppenheimer, who invented the nuclear bomb. So there was a good touch to that. I liked the visuals for the most part. The time-lapse stuff of the Capitol was really good. I have no problem at all with them showing the history of the Time Lords and how they got to get the regenerative powers. But the thing that I struggled with tonight was that they spent a lot of time on the Brendan thing, and you only got a very short part of it tonight. I think the idea of what they were trying to do with Jodie's character, the Doctor in this, I'll try and differentiate the actor from the part. What they were trying to say with the Doctor is, it doesn't matter what's come before, it's what you do. And unfortunately, in the most part,
She was there, and basically she was just being told stuff for a lot of the episode. So it was a case of, this was all really where everything last week was all set up. This was just like revelation after revelation, thick and fast, to be honest with you. And the only thing that was happening was, to a certain degree, what the companions were doing. And that sort of got lost, I think, a little bit in the mix. I did like Ko Sharmus as well. I liked his secret badass type thing. So that I enjoyed that. I didn't find them like massively irritating. I am fine, but although Ryan did seem like a bit of dead weight, when the Doctor says that, I'm going to go and I'm going to sacrifice themselves, think about saying bye, no, or don't go. Or it's just like, it seemed like they'd sort of given up at that point, but Ko Sharma still sort of like went after them. I would have expected them to have perhaps put up more of a fight and a bit more of an argument to say, surely there's some other way. That was sort of dealt with very quickly. Look, like Graham said, the elephant in the room. It depends on the amount of strength you put in the brain of Morbius doctors, really, to be honest with you. If you want to spend a whole season to basically do that, that's fine. Do you know what I mean? It's up to you. It's your show. You run it how you want, to be honest with you. I prefer to be of the thinking, that this is all a bit of... the master sort of, trying to toy with the brain and everything like that. That way, I think it's trod a very fine line, but it just seems to be a lot for very little that they've put into doing this, to be honest with you. I would rather have it just been more action-driven. I did like the ship crashing down on top of the Capitol. I thought that looked tremendous. The music was good. Sorry, when the Cyberlords came in, I pissed myself laughing. I'm sorry, it was funny as far as I could concern, because it just looked really camp, in all honesty. And I think that's it for the most part, to be honest with you. It's what you put on it. I'd have hoped for a little bit more. To me, there were good points like the sets, but it also seemed a little bit fan fiction to me, to be honest with you. You could have called a lot of this going into it, so it wasn't any massive surprises. Unfortunately, I felt a little bit a bit meh for some parts of it, to be honest with you. I'd have liked more with the Lone Cyberman. They built that up really well, and they just let it go really quickly. So I'm sort of really drifting in the middle on this one.
Okay, next up, let's go over to Lady Neo.
Hello, everybody. I absolutely loved this episode. I am the opposite of beef. I'm sorry, but I love this episode. I loved every moment of it, especially that part where the Master told the Doctor that she was the timeless child. Okay, for one thing, I had to pause. I had to get up. I had to go out of the room for a minute and say, you know what? This is going to divide the fandom straight away. This is going to divide them. That's going to totally mess up everybody. Then I had to come back in, take a breath, and watch the rest of it play. Very emotional. Had the emotions, had the comedy, had the anger, had the dark doctor being, I'm going to sacrifice myself. But come on, we knew who the Richard was going to be, the old guy. Come on. Figured that out in a minute. Yes, some things were predictable. Loved the sets. The part where they were putting themselves into the Cyberman, that kind of reminded me back when, I think it was Clara, she was in the Dalek. That kind of reminded me about that. So I was like, okay, they're kind of doing something like that. It worked. I liked it. I loved the little comedy bit. Let's see, what else? Good tension. The music was good. Very interesting with the explanation and everything. And I said, ooh, Philip would be happy. They're explaining stuff. So I said, great, this is good. So overall, this was a very, very good, amazing, spectacular, wonderful episode. A good second part to a part that was setting everything up. I enjoyed it. I might wait until the DVD comes out so I can watch every single thing on it all the way back up to it, but I loved it.
All righty. Okay, next up, let's go to Elijah.
I thought this finale was actually pretty good. It was definitely really well hyped up. Like last week, it was a bit of setup, and this really paid off this week. The cyber hybrid with the Time Lords, though it was a cool design, wasn't really a big fan of it, but I can live with it. Dewan was outstanding, probably outshined everyone in this episode. Sorry to say to Jodie, but he just outshined everyone. The lone Cyberman wasn't really paid off as well as I would have liked it to. It just kind of seemed like it was all build up. I know the Master was for sure going to just turn his back on, what's his name, Ashad. The origin story was pretty cool. The Morbius doctors, that was a cool little bit. Then also, did anyone else kind of think of the Game of Thrones intro when they were showing the Citadel being built? Or was that just me? But overall, pretty decent episode.
I know, that's what I first kind of thought of when they were doing that. Okay, and last but certainly not least, let's go over to Texas Tim.
I think everybody's already kind of said everything about it. I mean, yeah, it's obvious Dewan was great, and there was some really good stuff in it. And the whole business of messing around with the Time Lord continuity, they didn't really mess anything up anyway. It just didn't seem very necessary, to be fair. It seemed like an awful lot of, I mean, of course, you could say the Master was lying a lot, too, because I was just wondering what did he see that was supposedly so bad? I mean, okay, so maybe she is this so-called timeless child. So what? It doesn't really change anything. I thought the whole point of the exercise was, when she was talking to Ruth, was that, like Beef said, it doesn't matter where you came from. All that matters is what you do, which kind of messed up the ending, because what does she do? Red Shirt Moses comes in and she runs like a girl. So, I mean, that's not a really good ending. That's not really a satisfying ending for after that build up. You know what I'm saying? That was a kind of messed up ending. I think that she didn't fix it herself. A Red Shirt had to come in and do something she didn't want to do, and she just ran off. And that just seems like a cop out to me. I think there could have been a better ending to it. I think I would have liked to see her and the Master fighting with swords again or something. That would have been really cool, or something like old school. But I mean, otherwise, yeah, it's a good ending to the series. It's a good ending for this kind of three-parter thing. I disagree with those that thought that the lone Cyberman's demise was uncool. I thought that's actually the best way to just cut off that part of the story. Just that's it. You're done. After all that build-up, I think that's a cool way to do it. And I like the cliffhanger ending. I think that's pretty cool to end the series like that with, oh, you're arrested this way. Come on. So that's pretty much all I got to say. It was enjoyable enough, but I agree that it wasn't. There's some things that could have been done a lot better, I think.
Alrighty then. Okay, my interpretation of it now, as you can see in the backdrop here, the Master did that. It wasn't the Cyberman. And I think the reason why the Master did this design on the Cyberman was to rub it in the Doctor's face. Look, I've won. Look what I've done to our people. They now serve me. And I've turned them into basically things just like me, beings without conscience, killers. And now they can regenerate. Scary thought, isn't it? Imagine that. Cybermen that you can blast the crap out of them, and they can just literally get back up a few minutes later and keep going. Kind of like the Energizer Bunny. But what I loved about this was the fact that, we've once again been presented with a little more mystery into the Doctor's background. But at the same time, they did it in a way where you could say, what if the Master was just lying? Maybe he didn't really prove his case, because as I brought up with the guys before, we started getting going, the chameleon arts can turn a human being into a Time Lord. Now imagine, the Master's had access to the Matrix this whole time. And he knows how to manipulate the Matrix, because we've seen it before, going all the way back to when Ainley did it in, Trial of a Time Lord. So it could all just be a fabrication. It could be the way, he was trying to break the Doctor and say, look, this happened, but at the same time, it could all be lies. And that's why I loved about this episode. They left it up to you to interpret it in your own way. got some bad news for you folks who are out there marching on about canon, because canon is constantly changed in Doctor Who, going almost all the way back to the beginning. Remember, the Doctor wasn't even a Time Lord until the War Games, and that was what, 1966? Gallifrey wasn't named until the Time Warrior. You know, it's like, and then the 12 regeneration limit, that came into being all the way back in Deadly Assassin, and it also overrode Omega with Rassilon. So the continuity of Doctor Who has always changed. It will always change for as long as it exists. So that's why I'm not really that worried about it, because the way Chibnall wrote this, he's left it up for the fan to decide for themselves. What is your idea of the canon of this story? Which feeds into, you know, canon itself. You know, canon to one person could be something completely different from what you think it is. And that's why I loved about it. It's been left up to your interpretation. But okay, and that's one to grow on. But next, let's go on. Let's get to, because we got some hands going up. All righty. Now, Paul, you had your hand up first, so I'm going to let you go on ahead.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions. First, do we think that Tau, if that's how you say her name, is the woman in the End of Time, you know, that's doing that? That's one question. And the other one, it's one I've had for a while, actually, but this sort of expands it a bit. I've always thought why, you know, possibly why regenerations before Paul McGann to John Hurt didn't have, well, until Twice Upon a Time, I think we're supposed to think they had the hand glowing, but they didn't have the until now. Theories I've put in my head is, you know, the Time War maybe, or the fact that the Second Doctor said, "Oh, it's part of the TARDIS. If that changes, that might do." But this, all the timeless child regenerations had the. So I don't know, what's everyone's take on that? I'm wondering.
Well, the first part, according to the writer's tale, if you've read that book by RTD, originally that character was supposed to be the Doctor's mother. And then he decided to renege on that and make it open to anyone's interpretation as to who you think it might have been. So originally, as written, yeah, it was supposed to be the Doctor's mother, but he decided to change his mind and leave it vague. But as for all that, like I said, Doctor Who's continuity and canon is always changing. You got to remember,
just different production teams doing it differently. I mean, that's just, they put their own spin on it. The most boring one of all is Pertwee Baker. I mean, they just merge. That's it. So.
Yeah, exactamundo. It just, they didn't have a whole lot of money for the budget. They didn't have access to that kind of effects back then.
Yeah, no, I meant fictionally, really. I mean, fictionally, why do we, you know, what?
Poetic license?
Well, if you see the regeneration from 1 to 2, it does have like a really bright light effect. It happens on his face and then glows out. So it was pretty much like that. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, actually, yeah, nice one.
All right, let's go to Josh.
Sorry, these are kind of nitpicky things, but I liked the cinematography was some of the best that I've seen in the series so far. I liked the whole cinematography when it came to Gallifrey and all that kind of stuff. But what I wasn't clear on is the race of people that were supposedly Time Lords before they became Time Lords. Had we heard of these? Because I can't remember the name of the people that they said they were, but have we heard that before? Or because I was kind of confused about that.
Yeah, the Shabogans, you mean? The Shabogans he's talking about. Yeah, from Invasion of Time.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that because I don't remember that at all.
It's a throwaway line in the Deadly Assassin as well.
Yeah, the Shabogans were the kind of like Time Lord Amish. Forgive me.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that because I didn't remember that. But the only thing that was kind of weird to me is how they had the woman, I can't remember her name, the adoptive mother, because Chibnall can't write people that have names that you can remember. But the mother, like, what I didn't understand is how can this one person create, the ability to travel through time, create spaceships, create all this stuff, and then, because they said that she created all that and then created Gallifrey, right?
No, she was a space traveler, and what happened was she gave them the ability to regenerate, but time travel technology came later. And also, depending on who you interpret it, was it Omega, was it Raslan, was it Omega, was it Raslan? So, yeah, she just gave them the ability to regenerate.
Oh, okay, that's what that was. But that was pretty much all my questions.
Let's go to DWC.
Yeah, I was just looking at my notes. Two things really to point out. One thing was that obviously we've had the whole thing about it was the Master that decided to blow up Gallifrey this time, and I was thinking way back through Skyfall, what exactly, given how the Master pretty much changed as Missy, what could have made him go so insane that he'd want to do that again? And I don't know, I am still a bit confused, because it seems what drove him saying was the reality that he learned that he was part Doctor. So don't quite get what's gone with that, especially given that he's been trying to consistently extend his lifespan for a long time. I don't understand that. Also, as far as the next episode's going to go, is it actually confirmed that Jodie's going to have, that the Doctor is going to be a bit in it, or even just probably be at the end maybe, but is it really confirmed Doctor's going to have a huge part in it? Because all I'm thinking is really that just sets up the idea for a Doctorless episode, which the idea of the companions fighting off the Daleks, it's not too bad an idea. I mean, they've fought them once before. And also something Tim was talking about earlier about how they needed a red shirt to come in and do everything, and that was bad. Maybe I suppose you could have the idea of this ending sort of like Sherlock Holmes and the Final Problem. For those who don't know, in that story, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was really not wanting to write Sherlock Holmes anymore, so he wrote the story The Final Problem in a way that Holmes and Moriarty, who was now introduced in this, in fact, both died off the Regenbach Falls cliff, and that was meant to be that. Doyle didn't write it for 10 years, but people wanted him to keep writing, so 10 years later, he did write it back and wrote a way that Holmes did survive in a really odd way that he just climbed down, and it was Moriarty who died. But yeah, you could have done it. Like, you could have had the idea that the Doctor did defy the Master's expectations and blew it up himself, and we're just wondering, how did the Doctor do that? That would have probably been better, but still, ultimately, I guess people needed to channel for people really need to know the Doctor's going to be here. Maybe that was a bad choice, but either way, I don't think it takes anything away one way or the other.
No, it was because she had a I am the Doctor moment, and then ran away. I mean, let somebody else do the job. So that was my point. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, let's go to Beef.
To be honest with you, yeah, DWC sort of grabbed a point that I wanted to raise. It did sort of seem a bit like, why did the Master just feel that aggrieved that he wanted to destroy the whole of Gallifrey, then set the plans in motion to, in essence, completely nuke a dead planet for a second time when everything's already done and destroyed and that job's done. I get the idea of trying to make the Doctor more like him, but it was a bit of a stretch. Also, I don't know if anyone else found the same thing as well. The bit where she actually goes into the Matrix and you've got the sort of grey section to it. I suppose the buffering section of the Matrix, it did look a bit ropey to me. I don't know if anyone else thought that, but it took me back to what would have been old Tom Baker type special effects. It did sort of like grate on me a little bit, so I don't know if anyone else had that.
Could have been worse. It could have been a big blue screen with a loading bar.
Yeah. Aside from that, I'll come back if I think of anything else.
Okay, let's go to AJ.
Yeah, for me, there's a couple of things. Graham's plan about to get into the Cyberman outfit, it reminded me of the first Doctor story, the Daleks, where they climb inside the Dalek to try and escape the city. I thought that was kind of cool. I like Ryan getting overconfident about blowing up a couple of Cybermen and then chased off by more Cybermen. Also, the Ashard, he cut out the human part of the Cybermen to make them more robot, and yet he's still got human bits. So that's kind of odd. And why didn't Ryan crouch while he was trying to shoot the Cybermen? Because Cybermen can't crouch.
I know there would have been a little bit Call of Duty if he could do, if he had done that. Yeah, because he's played that. I think he said he was into all those shooter type games. So, oh man, I could have seen it. That would have been a good idea. Yeah, you just crouch and take him out from underneath. That would have been cool. Okay, Kellen.
Yeah. Well, like, when you first become a space traveling species, you travel to the nearest galaxies. Calm down. She built the ship herself upon what they were saying. You can't travel to the nearest galaxies. If the human race could travel at the speed of light, opposite Dory would take about 9 years as a round trip. People just get exaggerated about everything. When they like something, we have to make it massive. Just travel to the nearest star, the nearest few stars. Never mind.
Okay, let's go over to Philip.
Sorry about that. I hit the wrong button. Two things. Right. Do you know when Gallifrey's all busted up and destroyed, how comes there are TARDISes still working on Gallifrey? That didn't make sense to me. It's like that'd be a bit of a quick get-out clause. And did everybody notice that the place where the Jadoon sent the Doctor, that was definitely Sharda to me.
It looked like Sharda. Yeah, it really did, didn't it? That's my first thought.
Yeah.
Even shaped the same way. Yeah. All right, Connor.
I took the Dewan sort of motivation as being, or should I say the Master's motivation, as being kind of like some of jealousy. It felt like he was just really jealous that the Doctor was all this powerful, special creation for the Time Lords, and like he wasn't. I did like the line where Jodie said, has all that rage gone or something? And he kind of like, he went a bit... he went a bit meek there because I don't think he realized that, like, actually doing stuff like that, it doesn't help really.
Must have been a tough something or other.
Yeah. The SJWs will be happy. All of the diversity quotas being ticked off one after another. Someone got a marker and just went, yep. So that's we've now had a Chinese doctor, we've had a few black doctors. Yep. Good God, rejoice. Yep.
The diversity card has been accomplished. Okay, Graham.
No, Connor. Rejoice was one of John Hurt's companions in his first big finish. But anyway, just a quick thing on my perplexity level. The section in the Matrix where she mind blowed it. As cool as that was, we had the whole flashbacks and the theme tune playing and all the rest of it. Quick question. Why was her memories able to blow up the Matrix when her memories were in the Matrix in the first place? Just asking.
I know, kind of weird, wasn't it? Well, then again, the Matrix just ain't what it used to be. Maybe they're running Windows. Okay, William.
Oh, sorry about that. Just a quick question. When he activated the bomb to kill all those Cybermen and the Master, and of course he himself died, does that mean there is no more Time Lords and the Cybermen and the Master cannot regenerate no more from that? That's one question. And then the other one, when the question was when the Master shrunk with his tissue compression, the Cybermen, I actually thought, somebody could correct me, I thought that the tissue compression worked on tissue. So I thought the flesh of the Cyberman would have shrunk, but the shell would have stayed. That's what perplexed me. I know we've seen them do it with other people, and of course their clothes shrunk with it. But I thought since the metal was different, I thought it would have stood in the flesh would have shrunk down.
It happened to he did use it on Chameleon, or rather the Doctor used it on Chameleon.
It worked on Chameleon. No.
Meadows tissue. So
Okay, let's go to Elijah.
Okay, so 2 points to bring up. Did anyone else notice that when she was doing her flashback memories, that she had the memory of Jack from Fugitive of the Jadoon, but did not meet him at that point? And then also, it was cool to have the colorized first and second Doctor bits in the flashback, but they could have brought in someone like Babel Color in to, even though it's like a half a second, they have the Doctor colorized, but everything else in the background is black and white. But just nitpicking.
Okay, Texas Tim.
Well, I agree with Will. Like, so supposedly the Master is dead again, obviously, but he will be back for sure. This, in other words, Gallifrey is still dead now too, so they didn't really solve anything with this. So I mean, also these cyber lilies or whatever they were, the with the campy hats. I guess they're gone for good as well. I thought the Master's plan was really a bit stupid because if you turn Time Lord dead bodies into Cybermen, yeah, they can regenerate a few times, but it doesn't really make them any more powerful, does it? I mean, they're still dead Time Lords. So I thought his plan was a bit bonkers, but since he's nuttier than squirrel shit for the most of the time anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that his plan was a bit stupid. But I guess what I'm saying is he's dead again, obviously, and he will be back probably as Sasha Dewan. So there you go.
Okay, Graham.
I'm just curious if the Brendan thing will come back up again, or if that will be left unresolved as an implanted memory to cascade something else. But as to whether we'll see, Dr. Ruth Kilmartin again down the road, who knows? As I say, because of that big grey filter, you've got a hell of a lot left unresolved, kids, and probably will never be resolved. That's what Big Finish is for when Dr. 14 hits your TV screens.
Okay, Connor.
A few things really. The first, when the Cybermen first attacked where Koshamus and Ryan and all them lot were, why didn't they just jump through the boundary? The second point is I don't understand how the lone Cyberman, didn't know who the Master was, but I guess that's because he regenerated, because like they've obviously had an alliance before. So yeah, I guess regeneration kind of answers that. And I actually liked the David Tennant thing at the end, like the what callback, like it was stealing something, but it kind of worked. It was a nice little callback. Little moments like that kind of made this episode, kind of a decent watch, I think, as well.
Callan.
Yeah, to speak to Philip Archer's point, the question about why the TARDIS is still working, it's part of the eye of harmony. Now, as Tom Baker says, it neither withers or diminishes. That's why it's still working, in my opinion.
Well, the question is, why is she leaving him laying around Earth everywhere?
Yeah, again.
Yeah, I would agree with Callan there, because he only blew up the capital and surround the city. He didn't blow up the planet, so that's different. Yeah, you're right.
Tim say there. Sorry, Tim. Wells.
Well, also originally, you got to remember, as you guys said, they originally powered all the TARDISes off the time travel facility. From the Eye of Harmony, it was underneath the Panopticon. But then remember, when they went to the 96 movie, suddenly the TARDIS has its own black hole.
Yeah, but I think they're all probably the same. The Eye of Harmony is the same. It's just multi-spatial as well. That's what gives it part of its ability to reduce in size the outside of the TARDIS compared to the inside of the TARDIS due to the massive gravity. That's just my personal theory. And I am
timey-wimey, spacey-wacy. Okay. All right, back to AJ.
Someone touched on my point. Basically, you've got a TARDIS now on Earth that looks like a house that anyone could just walk into and probably get lost forever. The Doctor dumps a TARDIS off on the planet where her TARDIS is, and now as a tree, it's just going to sit there forever as well.
Well, it'll probably just power itself down. Yeah, like I said, just sit there. Okay, Josh.
I was trying to figure this out. I don't know if they didn't explain it and they're just gonna explain it for season 13, or if I just missed it. But I couldn't figure out what the division was supposed to be. Like, was it just supposed to be Time Lords that do interfere in time when they need to, or what was all that? I was confused about that.
It was deliberately left ambiguous, but I'd say it was probably meant to be a Time Lord Black Ops sort of thing. But like I said, it was ambiguous. We may know next series.
Also, the division, Josh, was probably the forerunner of the Celestial Intervention Agency, which was something that was put into play back in the, I think it was Pertwee first mentioned the CIA. And they made it their own business. They were kind of like a split, like fifth column faction of the Time Lords, where they would send the Doctor to interfere, or they also did their own interferences to try to keep things running. You know, basically they were completely contradicting, the law when they were doing it. They were kind of like the dirty tricks, side of the Time Lords. Okay, let's go to Paul.
Yeah, one question which I was hoping was going to be explained but wasn't is explanation why Ruth's TARDIS is also a police box. I mean, are we supposed to believe the chameleon circuit broke twice then, or what? What do we think?
It's a question that will never be answered. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to Philip.
I'd be interested to know what people's reactions in that neighborhood when they see a whacking great big house appear out of nowhere and sits and they go, there wasn't a house there before. What's that doing there? So that'd be a funny thing to see in the next season.
Perception filter.
Good point. Good point, actually. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, perception filter probably. Okay, back to AJ.
Yeah, the master mentions to the Doctor, you kept remembering things from when they were erasing your memory, Ireland. We never actually saw Jodie remember or interact with the memories of what happened in Ireland. We just saw the images as they were happening. So I find that a really very loose thread that could easily just be pulled.
I kind of think of it like the Matrix was like, they were redacting everything and they left that one little bit. And like you said, it was chameleoned. So that way, it looked like the Ireland thing, when in fact it was probably, the Doctor losing memory that one time when they were zonking, his or her head. And that's just how it came up in the Matrix, because they tried to shade it as an insignificant memory. They tried to cover it over, but, it kind of stuck out, kind of like a bad hard drive. But okay, Graham.
Just came back to the segue and the ending where the Doctor gets nicked and ends up at the Dragoon's time of leisure, or as Philip calls it, the clink. Nice segue into the New Year Dog episode. I had a mental flashback to the end of that Rick and Morty season where Rick ended up in the old clink himself. So that was quite funny. And yeah, you're right, that prison did look like Shada. Also had shades of what was that place where Danny Pink ended up with Cyril Heaven at night. But there we go. Interesting set design.
Okay, back. Oh, sorry. Who just spoke?
I just said, does he mean the Nethersphere?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
All right, back to Texas, Tim.
Well, I just have a question. Is there any confirmation as to what actual day the special will be? Because everybody's assuming it's New Year's, but they didn't really say that.
Chimnall has said it's somewhere. It's going to be either Christmas or New Year.
They released a press statement afterwards saying that it'd be between Christmas or New Year. They just don't know when.
So it's not before then.
My theory is like I said, they filmed the special this year because I have an eerie feeling some folks are leaving, and this way you don't have to sign them back up for another contract to come back and film another silly thing. Boom, this way they're done. That would explain why Taz and Cole's already lined up work. Mandip Gill mentioned something about a Marvel movie project. And so it could be, they're both leaving. We just don't know. It could be anything. All right, back to Connor.
I hope that now the Doctor's been nicked, she's the subject of the next Line of Duty series.
But it was interesting, that they shaped that prison to look weirdly like Shada. But Wouldn't it be, like I said, I can guarantee you with 105% certainty they're not going to say that Jodie took over Shada. That would be an interesting story arc in itself, let alone a good subject for fan fiction, is if they did do that. But
Well, no, because remember, the Jodie are working for that division.
Shadow Proclamation.
Yeah. Well, no, but remember when Gat in the Joe Martin story, they were working for the Time Lords even then. So
also, Shada is a Time Lord prison, so that's where they would take a Time Lord if they picked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we can hope. We can keep our fingers crossed. It would be nice if it did turn out to be Shada. It did look a lot like Shada, given what we've seen of it in animations, plus the original, bits of the original episode that they did have filmed. So it did look a lot like Shada. But okay, we've been going on for a bit over an hour now. Let's go ahead and let's wrap this sucker. We'll rate it and put it to bed. All right, starting from the bottom, Elijah, out of 10, what do you give the Timeless Children? I had a Shatner moment.
I think I will give this one a 9, just because I wasn't a big fan of the hybrid Cyberman, and the Ashad Cyberman was kind of really wasted, but it gets a 9.
Okay, Bo.
I'm giving this one a straight up 10 out of 10. It was a really great episode, and I just want to say that this series is definitely better than the previous series. It was really great.
All right, Texas Tim.
Yeah, I agree with Bo on that. But I'm gonna give this one an 8. I thought it had a lot of elements there that could have been a lot better if they just worked it out better somehow. But yeah, I'll give it an 8.
All right, Lady Neo.
10 out of 10 for me.
All right, Beefhead.
I think when you want to make your message, it's not who you are or where you've come from, it's what you do. Then you've spent an inordinate long time sort of dithering over stuff when you're worrying about the Morbius doctors. Then you might as well have thrown Peter Cushing's doctor in there, to be honest with you. I'm going to give it a 6.75. I mean, it is definitely an improvement on last year. I think going forward, then look at the avenue of going down the Doctor being perhaps a bit more harder edge and dialing back on the comedy. I just hope if the stuff from this year runs over onto next year, that people aren't just forgetting it in the long space that it looks like we're going to have between. Maybe you should have just finished it off here and picked up anew next time.
Okay, AJ.
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's a definite improvement over the previous season, but then a kick in the bollocks would have been better than last season too. So,
Callan?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10. No, maybe a 9. I think I'll give it a 9. I'm not thinking, 9.
All righty then. Okay, Philip?
I'm going to give it a 9.5, just for the fact that Chibnall decided, I'm going to do something about this Doctor Who and fucked up a little bit. And he did it for me. And I thought, he had the balls. I enjoyed it. So there you go. 9.5.
Okay, Connor.
I'll give it 8 out of 10. Give the Chinese Doctor his own Big Finish series.
Doctor Who spelled H-U. Oh, God, I'm going to get called a racist. Okay, Graham.
That's it. I endorse that idea, Connor. Why not? For me, action-packed, enjoyable enough. We'll see where they go next year with it. And this gets an 8.5 for me. We said last year, the main gripe was be big, be bold, be brash. Whether you love or hate it, he's done that this year. Let's see what comes next.
Okay, William.
Well, I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. And in my opinion, I think the Dalek story would come in New Year's. Since we already had 2 in a row, so might as well just keep it like that. Because we know, since you said earlier that the season filming won't start till the fall, so that explains that gap right there if it happens again.
Okay, Josh.
I'm gonna give this one an 8 just because there were little nitpicky stuff, but overall it was really well done. It was really really bold, and he really went all the way with it. And it was I really enjoy when they do give hints of Gallifrey history and all that stuff. So overall it was pretty good.
Okay, Paul.
Yeah, this gets a 10 out of 10 from me. Like I said in the opening remarks, I felt it was the perfect finale. Big battle. The Master was brilliant in it. The Cybermen were, the Doctor, all of them. 10 from me.
Okay, DWC.
Nice round 10 from me.
And I think for only like the fourth time in the whole Chibnall era, I think it's the fourth, I'm going to have to say 10 out of 10. It was Sasha Dewan just nailed it, really knocked it out of the park. Sure, there was a few things here and there, but I have to say this much. D-Nig finally brought their A game to the CGI department. Especially as Beef brought up with the cyber ship just coming down on top of the Citadel. That was beautifully done. The music, spectacular. The way the cinematography was done, I felt like I was watching a movie. It really did. It felt like, it was that well lit. It was that well shot. Really, good stuff. So, yeah, definitely 10 out of 10 for me. Well, folks, I would say at this time, join us next week, but there's nothing on next week. So hopefully sometime between now and Revolution of the Daleks, we'll find something else to talk about, and we'll be back then. But until then, now I can finally sit down and focus on doing more Dr. Freedom and Eric audios. Been so busy with this. So until next time we see you, take care of yourselves and each other. Be sure to, make sure that your, pipes are cleaned out in the house. Don't let that sink back up. Sweep the floor. Take care, just take care of taking care.
And look out for The Division, a new series coming to BBC.
Next week on The Division.
The Premiership Division.
Bye.
That's spin-off. That's spin-off.
You can play the
Watch
police
as the,
on that one. That's what you
watch
can
as
do.
The Division tries to crack. What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Bye, everyone.
Bye.